Unlocking the power of perception about brand equity. I want to welcome you guys to Index Card Insights. This is episode 61. Hope you guys are doing amazing out there on this fine Tuesday afternoon. Again, we're talking about brand equity today. I know, man, it sounds like a snooze fest, but it's really actually quite important and it matters. And for me to give you any insights on brand equity, I first need to define it for you because I realize there's people out there who don't really know what that is. That doesn't make those people dumb. It just means that hey, we all got different terminologies that we know about and terminologies that we don't know about. So let's get on the same page with what I mean when I say brand equity. So brand equity is the value of a brand. All right. It's determined by the consumer's perception of its quality and desirability. Right. Basically, it's how awesome do people think your brand is, right? How good do they think it is? It's based on factors such as the brand's recognition. Like, basically, do people recognize it? Do people recognize your brand when they see it? Are they familiar with it? It's based on customer loyalty. How much do people stay with your company? Do people always buy New Balance tennis shoes because they're loyal to the brand? You know what I mean? Or do they just buy whatever pair of tennis shoes is on sale that week? you know and it's also based on customer satisfaction, right? Are people generally happy when they buy your products, right? These are the kinds of things that come together to form brand equity. There's a lot of ways you can build brand equity, and I'm going to give you some insights. But I want to kind of take this definition I just gave you and kind of dig a little bit deeper. I want to go into kind of an analogy so that we can really get a grasp for what I'm talking about here, because it's important to build brand equity, and I don't see a lot of people working on that. In the kind of lower level, intermediate level internet marketing space. In the upper level internet marketing space, I see a lot of brand equity being built. But like I said, in the lower levels and the intermediate levels, where people are kind of coming up, I don't see that focused on a whole lot. So here's an example. Let's say you have a comic book company, right? And they're very well known in the space. They've been around for years, and they, people have a opinion about their comic books. They love them. They love their comic books. They're very well established in the comic book space. They use really nice paper for their comic books. They got top-notch artists. They got great storytellers. And people just have this perception of their brand. They recognize the brand, right? We'll call these guys comic book company A, and how about comic book company Alpha? This is Alpha Comic Book Company. Alpha Comic Book Company is very well known in the space. They are they've been around for a while. They got a lot of brand recognition. People have been reading their comics for a while. They got a lot of loyalty. And people are generally satisfied with comic book company Alpha. Now along comes the comic book company Delta. Comic book company Delta. They're brand new on the scene. And they're just getting started. Comic book company Delta is just getting started. Nobody knows who they are. They have no customer loyalty, and obviously they haven't put out their first comic book yet, so nobody's satisfied with what they got to do. No one even knows about them. And the truth is, even after they put out their first few comic books, people still aren't going to be satisfied with them yet. Not on the level that they are with comic book company Alpha, right? They just haven't built that brand equity yet. Now, it's not just comic books. This can be applied to all businesses, online businesses, offline businesses, all businesses. How would a company like comic book company Delta build brand loyalty really, really quickly to compete with comic book company Alpha? How would they do it? Let me give you a few insights on that, okay? The first thing they could do is they could provide unique storytelling. Unique storytelling. What do I mean by that? Because everybody says unique storytelling. Big Dominus in the house. What's up, my friend? Good to see you. Everybody says unique storytelling, but that's not what I mean. I don't mean just like, hey, unique storytelling. I mean unique compared to what comic book company Alpha is doing, okay? Whatever they're doing, let's fill the gap. What is the gap they're not doing? What is the group of people out there they're not catering to? What is the gap? Let's try to do some unique storytelling to hit that gap, right? Unique storytelling. So this is going to create some differentiation for comic book company Delta, right? And differentiation can be the beginning of brand equity, okay? Because what differentiation is going to do is it's going to force people to form an opinion about you, right? It's going to force people to form an opinion about you. And what are one of the ways to build brand equity? It's, customer recognition, right? Customers need to recognize your company. Your market needs to recognize who you are. So by creating differentiation, you can create recognition. And by creating recognition, you're starting the path to brand equity. Okay. So that's one of the ways that comic book company Delta can compete with comic book company Alpha, right? They need to focus on unique storytelling. It's not just comic books, guys. It's everybody in all businesses. Okay. What's the second insight I can give you about comic book company Delta? Okay. Comic book company Delta, what they need to do is they need to have targeted marketing and community engagement. Now, in parentheses there, you might not be able to read that. I ran out of my big index cards and I'm on to my little ones now. But what that says is become a fixture fast. Become a fixture fast. What does all this mean? What it means is comic book company Delta needs to quickly identify who is their target market and become a fixture in that community. Very quickly, they need to become a part of the scene, right? They're involved in all the comic cons. They're involved in all the online panels and forums. They're on all the message boards. They're everywhere. All of a sudden, Comic Book Delta's everywhere, right? That's how you become a fixture. You become a fixture fast. And by doing that, you're going to build your brand equity quicker. Okay. What else? By the way, I don't have to tell you, it's not just comic books, right? It's everybody. It's all businesses. What's the third insight I can give you about comic book company Delta and how they can compete with comic book company Alpha? The third insight is this, right? Unique identity and artistic style, right? If we think about factors of comic books, for example, the two big factors are the storytelling and the artwork, right? Well, comic book company Delta can differentiate on both of those levels. It can have like different unique storytelling, but it can also very easily move in a particular direction where its art is just different than comic book company Alpha. It's not the same, it's different. What this is going to do is it's going to create explosive differentiation, right? It's going to just like very, very quickly be a jarring difference for the customer base. And they're going to instantly be able to tell the difference between your comic books and the other company's comic books, right? So having this unique identity and artistic style can very, very quickly build brand equity for you. Now, again, it's not just comic books, it's everything. Now, maybe in your industry, it's not, storytelling and it's not artistry, right? Maybe those aren't the two things, those aren't the two big things that you can differentiate with. Maybe in your industry, it's something different. It's a little different in the internet marketing industry. But all industries and all markets have these factors. They have big factors and small factors. When we take comic books, there's a whole bunch of sub factors that you could use for differentiation, like what the covers look like. You can make your covers different. How the books are created. How the books are numbered. Maybe your books aren't numbered. Maybe your books are lettered. Maybe you don't do the number thing. Maybe it's like episode 1 or issue 1 is really like issue A, Maybe you use letters. You don't even use numbers. And by using letters, your books are like way different, you know? That's just like a sub difference. It's not like the big things that define that industry, but it's like small things, little things that you're doing to create differentiation. Anyways, all these things can create a opinion about your brand, perception about your brand, and that creates brand equity. It builds value for your business. Now, the last insight I'll give you, I didn't write a card for, but it should stand to reason. You should understand that building brand equity takes time, right? It takes time. And I'll tell you something else. On the internet, we hear a lot of people talking about simplification, right? As marketers, we love to oversimplify things. Man, we love to take complicated things and break them down into the most simple route possible. Why? Because simple sells. That's why. Simple sells, right? If it's easy, I can sell it easier. But the truth is, internet marketing is a little bit like the cartographer's paradox. You guys familiar with the cartographer's paradox? The cartographic paradox, if you will? It basically says that like a map can only be so accurate, right? Imagine if you did a map of your room or a map of your house, right? If you tried to include every single little thing in your house, from the nearest soda can to the nearest, every single thing in the refrigerator, every marker on the whiteboard, if everything in your house was put on this map, like that map would be so clouded and so convoluted, it wouldn't be help to anybody, right? This is the cartographic paradox, right? They have to like simplify the map down so it's useful, right? So a map is always an oversimplified version of reality. It's not reality, right? It's an oversimplified version of reality, which is amazing and it's very useful as a map. However, it's not 100% accurate, right? And that's where the paradox lies, because it's not completely accurate. It tells little white lies. The map tells little white lies. So like, it's the same thing with internet marketing. Now, marketers don't have to tell lies, but they do tend to oversimplify things sometimes. Now, this idea of brand equity, right? I gave you some simple ways to build brand equity. However, brand equity is a complex topic, right? There's a lot to it. There's a lot of ways to go about building brand equity, and it generally takes time to build brand equity. You can't build brand equity in a week, right? Brand equity is reserved for those who have stood the test of time, those who have continued to produce at a high level value to the market over and over and over again, month after month after month, year after year after year. They just keep on staying there, right? These are the companies that people start to form opinions about. Look at Nike, look at New Balance. I don't know why I always revert back to shoe companies, but I for some reason I do. Yeah, brand equity, it's kind of a complicated subject, and I don't really see any. It's like a habit to like simplify things. But honestly, here's what I've been thinking lately. Lately, I've been thinking, you know what? Everything doesn't need to be simplified, Sometimes I think people would just be happy knowing that, like, hey, this is actually kind of a complicated subject, and you take it little bit by little bit. But you got to understand that if you want to do it right, you got to learn a bunch of crap, and sometimes it's difficult, There's a lot of moving parts to it. I'd rather just know that it's, there's a lot to it than someone trying to like, feed me this line like 7 steps to the moon or something, you know what I mean? I saw a poster in a museum that said 7 steps to the moon, and it was a very, very oversimplified diagram of how the United States got to the moon in 7 steps. And it's just like, you can only shake your head because you knew that it took like thousands of people for us to get to the moon, and it took like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of steps of figuring things out and inventing new technology for us to get to the moon, right? So yeah, I mean, I think people love oversimplification. We're in love with those oversimplification, but some things just aren't simple. Some things aren't simple. They're multifaceted, and it takes time to get them right. I think brand equity, the big contributors to brand equity is one, stand behind your brand, don't wreck your brand, you know, understand what you believe in, okay? And then two, put that stuff out consistently, right? And that's going to build brand equity for you. A lot of it is, consistency and continuing to produce at a high level, right? That's kind of what it is with brand equity. Multifaceted, a lot to it. For example, installing a membership program behind your brand, that's going to build brand equity. It's going to produce more value for your business, and it's going to increase the perception of value on your business, right? A simple membership program, it's going to build brand equity for you. So there's a lot to brand equity, but it's super valuable. It's going to help you a whole lot by getting into it and thinking about it. When you put out products, right? Make sure that your brand name is represented. Yeah, sure, you have the title of the product. Sure, you got your name down there, but where is the name of your brand, right? What is the umbrella brand that this product's coming out under, right? Because that's the brand, right? That's where the equity should be being built. The equity shouldn't be being built in your name, because how are you going to sell your company if it's your name? I mean, yeah, I'm not saying some people haven't done it, but I mean, it's a lot easier to sell it if it's not your name. So, anyways, I think that's all I got, guys. I'm rambling on. Hope you guys are doing well out there. That's all I got today. Thanks for hanging out with me on Index Card Insights. Be sure to get over to epicconversions.com. Grab your free copy of Hungry Like the Wolf. Yeah, boom. That's all I got. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode of Index Card Insights. Peace, you guys.